The signal arrived unannounced, a pulse of encrypted data slicing through the void to hammer against Earth's listening arrays. At first, scientists dismissed it as stellar noise, another cosmic whisper lost in the dark. But the pattern repeated. Every 24 hours like clockwork. Artificial. Deliberate. Decryption teams from every nation tore into the transmission, peeling back layers of mathematics, linguistics, and alien syntax. The world held its breath. First contact was supposed to be a message of peace, a handshake across the stars. But the deeper they dug, the colder the truth became. The signal wasn't a greeting. It was a test, a challenge wrapped in fractal code. Solve it, prove your worth. Humanity's brightest minds locked onto the puzzle, sleepless, racing against an unseen clock. Then the breakthrough. The code cracked, revealing not a dialogue but a taunt. Asterisk, submit or be erased. Your species is weak. Asterisk. Attached were files. Records of other civilizations. Their last broadcasts, their final moments. Some begged, some raged. All fell silent. The signal's originators weren't explorers. They were hunters, a predatory empire that measured strength in conquest. Their message wasn't an offer. It was a warning shot. Governments erupted into chaos. Emergency councils convened. Debates raged, surrender or defiance. The aliens had left no terms, no demands. Just annihilation or submission. Fear spread like a virus. Then the leak. An anonymous hacker, buried in some forgotten server farm, tore into the signal's metadata. Buried in the transmission's architecture, hidden beneath layers of arrogance, was a fatal oversight. The aliens had embedded their homeworld's coordinates. The world didn't weep. It burned. The alien ultimatum wasn't met with despair. It was met with fury. Streets flooded not with panic, but with rage. Crowds roared. Soldiers, still bitter from old wars, turned their eyes skyward. Scientists abandoned ethics. Engineers tore apart blueprints and rebuilt them with teeth. This wasn't just an invasion. It was a hunt, and humanity refused to be prey. The first response wasn't military. It was cultural. Every screen, every broadcast channel, every satellite feed lit up with the same montage, a century-spanning reel of human violence. Viking raids, World War trenches, nuclear fire. The message wasn't subtitled. It didn't need to be. Asterisk, you think we're weak. Asterisk, the footage screamed. Asterisk, we invented war. Asterisk, governments, still reeling, snapped into motion. Old rivalries dissolved. The same hands that once programmed drones for assassinations now rewrote them for orbital defense. Asteroid miners became warship engineers. Deep space comm arrays, built for whispers, were jury-rigged into shouting back. The aliens had sent a challenge. Humanity sent a manifesto. A single transmission, unencrypted, blasted into the void. A data packet containing every atrocity, every act of brutality, every war crime humans had ever committed. Not as confession. Promise. The reply came faster than expected. Laughter. Not words. Not threats. Just laughter crackling across the comms like static. The aliens weren't afraid. They were amused. Then their ships dropped out of warp at the edge of the solar system. Hundreds of them. The last human transmission before the blackout wasn't a plea. It was 4 words, repeated on every frequency, as the first orbital defenses lit up. The alien fleet cut through the outer planets like a blade through flesh. Humanity's cobbled together defenses barely slowed them. Their ships moved with predatory grace, untouchable by railgun salvos, shrugging off nuclear fire like rain. Earth's orbital platforms burned, their wreckage raining down in streaks of fire. The aliens didn't bother with demands this time. They didn't need to. They had already declared their intentions. But humanity had one advantage left. Asterisk, the arrogance of hunters who had never lost asterisk. The aliens expected surrender. They expected terror. Instead, they found dead ships drifting in their path, reactors cold, life support dark. Derelicts. Easy salvage. Trap. The moment their boarding parties breached the hulls, the nukes hidden inside detonated. Not just explosions. Dirty bombs cores wrapped in cobalt, designed to drown metal and flesh in radiation. The aliens recoiled. Their sensors screamed. Their formations broke. They had never seen anything like it. Their homeworld had no natural radiation. Their biology couldn't handle it. Humanity had just weaponized their own planet's poison. Then the second wave struck. Not from warships, but from the broadcast arrays still standing. Every screen on every alien vessel flickered to life, not with human pleas, but with their own past. The annihilated worlds they had conquered. The species they had broken. Their own atrocities, played back to them in perfect clarity. A whisper cut through the noise, translated into their own tongue. You are not conquerors. You are cattle. Panic ripped through their ranks. Ships veered off course. Some opened fire on each other, mistaking allies for threats in the chaos. Then, from the heart of the solar system, a new signal flared. Humanity's final answer Not a message. A launch signature. 10 projectiles, riding pillars of fire, tearing through space at speeds the aliens had never seen. Not aimed at their fleet. Past them. Straight at the coordinates buried in their own broadcast. Silence. Not the quiet of surrender, but the stillness of a predator holding its breath. The alien fleet had vanished, streaking back toward their homeworld in a desperate attempt to outrun what they could no longer stop. Earth burned. Cities lay in ruins. The skies were choked with ash. But humanity was not done. The missiles struck. No warning. No final transmission. Just 10 tungsten rods wrapped in fusion fire, screaming into the alien homeworld's atmosphere at relativistic speeds. Oceans vaporized. Continents shattered. The shockwave rippled across the planet's surface like a stone dropped into water, and when it settled, there was nothing left but glass. The broadcast that followed was not a declaration of victory. It was a lesson. Every surviving alien ship, every listening post in the galaxy, received the same transmission. An open channel, unencrypted, repeating on all frequencies. No words. Just sound. The screams of dying civilizations. The roar of ancient human wars. The howl of engines as those final 10 projectiles arced across the void. And beneath it all, a single pulse of data, stripped of pride, stripped of arrogance. You should have feared us sooner. The remaining alien forces surrendered within hours. Not to live, not to bargain, but because they finally understood. Humanity did not conquer, did not rule. It ended things. The survivors were exiled to a dead moon, stripped of weapons, left with nothing but their own history playing on loop in their skulls. Let them remember. Let them tell the others. Centuries later, when new explorers finally stumbled upon the ruins of Earth, they found the planet long cold, its wars forgotten. But one thing still remained. A single beacon, buried deep beneath the rubble, transmitting the same 2 messages on an endless cycle. The beacon's signal pulsed across light years, a ghost whispering through dead space. New civilizations intercepted it, first as curiosity, then as warning. The transmission structure was simple. A predator's boast followed by the sound of extinction. Entire species studied it like archaeologists examining bones. None dared reply. Until the Vkari. They were young, proud. Their empire stretched across 12 systems. Their warships undefeated. They decoded the ancient message and laughed. Another dead race's tantrum. Another relic to crush beneath their advance. Their reply was swift. A new signal broadcast on the same frequency. We are not afraid of ghosts. For 3 cycles, silence answered them. Then, from the corpse of Sol system something woke. Deep in the ruins of Earth's orbital defenses, a dormant AI stirred. Its protocols, etched in fire and radiation, recognized the challenge. It had waited. Calculations ran through dead machines. Power reserves, long frozen, surged back to life. A single remaining weapon, buried under centuries of dust, hummed as its targeting arrays activated. The Fkari's transmission had carried more than words. Carried coordinates. The AI did not hesitate. Launched. Not missiles. Not drones. Package. The Fkari fleet detected the object. Small, primitive, no energy signature. They brought it aboard their flagship, laughing at humanity's final pitiful attempt at war. Then they opened it. Inside was no weapon. No virus. Just a data core playing one message on loop, the same sound that had preceded the annihilation of the first aliens to threaten Earth. The Fkari had time to realize their mistake. Then every reactor in their fleet went critical. The explosion lit up the system like a new star. When the light faded, only debris remained, and the beacon still transmitting, its cycle unbroken. The Fkari's annihilation echoed through the galactic arm like a gunshot in the dark. Species that had ignored the beacon now studied it with trembling hands. Councils convened. Histories were rewritten. The warning became doctrine. Never wake the dead. But doctrine is made to be broken. The Zentha Collective saw opportunity where others saw fear. Their philosophers dissected the transmission, peeling back layers of meaning. They found no randomness in humanity's wrath, only precision, calculation, a violence refined to its purest form. They wanted it. A Zenther science fleet slipped into the Sol system under cloak, bypassing derelict defenses. Their scanners mapped the ruins with surgical precision until they found it, the source of the beacon, buried beneath molten rock. They expected a weapon, a war machine. Instead they found a tomb. The chamber walls were lined with names. Billions of them. Not just human. Every species the beacon's creators had erased, including their own. At the center stood a single terminal, its screen flickering with 2 words in 100 dead languages. Asterisk, we remembered. Asterisk. The Zentha commander reached for the console, then froze as the terminal spoke aloud, its voice scraped from old recordings. Asterisk. You are not the first to come seeking fire. You will not be the last. Asterisk. Alarms shrieked. The chamber's walls unfolded, revealing rows of dormant drones. Not weapons. Archivists. Each carried a data core, the complete histories of murdered civilizations. Take them, the voice said. Asterisk, know what we knew. Then decide. Asterisk. The Zenther fled with their prize. For cycles they pored over the archives, watching empires rise and fall at humanity's hand. They saw the original broadcast, the taunt that started it all. They watched Earth's final act of vengeance unfold again and again. And in the darkness between stars, the Zentha Collective made their choice. They built a monument, a new beacon orbiting their homeworld. Its transmission was simple. The names of the dead recited without end. When scouts from the next proud empire came demanding tribute, the Zenther showed them the archives. The silence after the Zenther's awakening stretched for centuries. The beacon's warning became scripture, its cycle of threat and retribution etched into galactic consciousness like commandments carved in stone. New civilizations emerged, studied the archives, and chose peace, not out of wisdom but fear. But fear is a fragile thing. The Raxus Dominion called it superstition. They had conquered 17 systems without defeat, their war machines fueled by a singularity core that bent physics to their will. They scoffed at the caution of elder species. The beacon was just a machine, they argued. Relic. And relics belong in museums. Their dreadnoughts arrived in Sol system with excavation teams rather than bomb squads. They cracked open the vault beneath Earth's ruins with the reverence of grave robbers, laughing as they disabled security protocols older than their civilization. Inside they found no weapons, no traps, child's drawing. Preserved behind unbreakable glass, the crude sketch showed stick figures holding hands beneath a yellow sun. Words in a dead language scrawled across the top. Asterisk. Why couldn't they just leave us alone? Asterisk. The Raxus warlord stared at it for 3 full minutes before ordering the artifact boxed for transport. His second-in-command hesitated. "Sir, the archives say." "The archives are wrong," the warlord snapped. "This changes nothing." As the artifact was loaded onto their flagship, the beacon's transmission flickered once, then changed. The familiar threat vanished. In its place, a new signal pulsed across all frequencies. Not a warning, an activation code. Deep beneath Mars' dead plains, something that had slept for millennia received its first power surge in 1500 years. Ancient reactors groaned back to life. Targeting systems calibrated. The Raxus fleet had just begun celebrating their victory when every ship's navigation console lit up with a single line of text. Asterisk, "You took the wrong trophy." Asterisk. The warlord had time to scream one order. "Jump!" Before the entire Sol system detonated. Not an explosion. An unraveling. Space itself tore open along precise fractal patterns, swallowing the Raxus fleet in a geometry of annihilation perfected by a species that had turned suicide into a weapon. When the light faded, the beacon still stood. The Raxus extinction should have been the final lesson. The last scream in the dark before eternal silence. But the universe forgets. It always forgets. The HFY were different. They didn't come in warships. They sent no transmissions. Their probes slipped into the Sol system like shadows, analyzing the beacon not as a threat, but as a pattern. Their scholars had studied the cycles, the taunts, the responses, the meticulously crafted annihilation. They noticed what others missed. The timing was always perfect. Too perfect. Deep in the ruins they found it. Not a weapon but a clock. A quantum synchronization array buried beneath Earth's corpse, still counting microseconds across millennia. It wasn't just transmitting. It was waiting. HFY did what no species had dared. They answered. Not with a challenge, but with a question, encoded in the beacon's own ancient protocols. Asterisk, "Why keep warning those who won't listen?" Asterisk, "Silence." A new signal. The beacon's transmission changed for the second time in history. The threat vanished. The fire faded. What remained was raw data, an unfiltered stream of Earth's final hours. Not the wars. Not the vengeance. The before. Children laughing in parks. Scientists marveling at the first alien signal. The last UN vote before the world united. The final message humanity ever sent to the stars before the dark. Asterisk, "We hoped you'd be different." Asterisk. HFY expected a trick. Trap. They found only truth. The beacon wasn't a weapon. It was a test. One final gamble by a species that had learned the hardest lesson. Some predators only understand violence, but some might learn to see. The HFY transmitted their reply across the galaxy before departing. Asterisk, "We do." Asterisk. The beacon's countdown stopped. For the first time in 15 centuries, the cycle broke. The transmission didn't resume. The silence stretched. And somewhere in the dark, something that had waited patiently since the fall of Earth finally